Chapter 57. One catches the unholiness of the Christian means in flagranti if one once measures the Christian end against the end of the law of Manu, if one throws a strong light on this greatest contrast of ends. The critic of Christianity cannot be spared the task of making Christianity look contemptible. Such a law as that of Manu originates like every good code of laws. It sums up the experience, prudence, and experimental morality of many centuries. It concludes, it creates nothing further. The presupposition for a codification of this sort is the insight that the means of ensuring authority for a truth which has been won slowly and at a considerable expense are utterly different from the means needed to prove it. A code of laws never relates the advantage, the reasons, the casuistry in the prehistory of a law. If it did, it would lose the imperative tone, the thou shalt, the presupposition for being obeyed. This is precisely where the problem lies. At a certain point in the development of people, the most circumspect stratum, that is, the one which sees farthest back and ahead, declares the experience according to which one should live, that is, can live, to be concluded. Their aim is to bring home as rich and complete a harvest as possible from the times of experiment and bad experience. Consequently, what must now be prevented above all is further experimentation, a continuation of the fluid state of values, testing, choosing, criticizing values in infinitum. Against this, a double wall is put up. 1. Revelation. The claim that the reason in these laws is not of human origin, not sought and found slowly and after many errors, but of divine origin, and hence whole, perfect, without history, a gift, a miracle, merely communicated. Then, tradition. The claim that the law has existed since time immemorial, and that it would be irreverent, a crime against one's forefathers, to raise any doubt against it. The authority of the law is founded on the thesis, God gave it, the forefathers lived it. The higher reason in such a procedure lies in the aim, step by step, to push consciousness back from what had been recognized as the right life, that is, proved right by a tremendous and rigorously filtered experience, so as to attain the perfect automatism of instinct, that presupposition of all mastery, of every kind of perfection in the art of life. To set up a code of laws after the manner of Manu means to give a people the chance henceforth to become master, to become perfect, to aspire to the highest art of life. To that end, it must be made unconscious. This is the aim of every holy lie. The order of castes, the supreme, the dominant law, is merely the sanction of a natural order, a natural lawfulness of the first rank over which no arbitrariness, no modern idea has any power. In every healthy society there are 3 types which condition each other and gravitate differently physiologically. Each has its own hygiene, its own field of work, its own sense of perfection and mastery. Nature, not Manu, distinguishes the preeminently spiritual ones, those who are preeminently strong in muscle and temperament, and those, the third type, who excel neither in one respect nor in the other, the mediocre ones, the last as the great majority, the first as the elite. The highest caste, I call them the fewest, being perfect, also has the privileges of the fewest. Among them, to represent happiness, beauty, and graciousness on earth. Only to the most spiritual human beings is beauty permitted. Among them alone is graciousness, not weakness. Pulchrum et paucorum hominum. The good is a privilege. On the other hand, there is nothing that they may be conceded less than ugly manners or a pessimistic glance, an eye that makes ugly, or indignation at the total aspect of things. Indignation is the privilege of the Chandalas, pessimism too. The world is perfect. Thus says the instinct of the most spiritual, the yes-saying instinct. Imperfection, whatever is beneath us, distance, the pathos of distance, even the Chandala still belongs to this perfection. The most spiritual men, as the strongest, find their happiness where others would find their destruction. In the labyrinth, in hardness against themselves and others, in experiments, their joy is self-conquest. Asceticism becomes in them nature, need, and instinct. Difficult tasks are a privilege to them. To play with burdens which crush others, a recreation. Knowledge, a form of asceticism. They are the most venerable kind of man. That does not preclude their being the most cheerful and the kindliest. They rule not because they want to, but because they are. They are not free to be second. The second. They are the guardians of the law, those who see to order and security, the noble warriors, and above all the king as the highest formula of warrior, judge, and upholder of the law. The second are the executive arm of the most spiritual, that which is closest to them and belongs to them, that which does everything gross in the work of ruling for them, their retinue, their right hand, their best pupils. In all this, to repeat, there is nothing arbitrary, nothing contrived. Whatever is different is contrived for the ruin of nature. The order of castes, the order of rank, merely formulates the highest law of life. The separation of the three types is necessary for the preservation of society, to make possible the higher and the highest types. The inequality of rights is the first condition for the existence of any rights at all. A right is a privilege. A man's state of being is his privilege. Let us not underestimate the privileges of the mediocre. As one climbs higher, life becomes ever harder. The coldness increases, responsibility increases. A high culture is a pyramid. It can stand only on a broad base. Its first presupposition is a strong and soundly consolidated mediocrity. Handicraft, trade, agriculture, science, the greatest part of art, the whole quintessence of professional activity, to sum it up, is compatible only with a mediocre amount of ability and ambition. That sort of thing would be out of place among exceptions. The instinct here required would contradict both aristocratism and anarchism. To be a public utility, a wheel, a function, for that one must be destined by nature. It is not society, it is the only kind of happiness of which the great majority are capable that makes intelligent machines of them. For the mediocre, to be mediocre is their happiness, mastery of one thing, specialization, a natural instinct. It would be completely unworthy of a more profound spirit to consider mediocrity as such an objection. In fact, it is the very first necessity if there are to be exceptions. A high culture depends on it. When the exceptional human being treats the mediocre more tenderly than himself and his peers, this is not mere politeness of the heart, it is simply his duty. Whom do I hate most among the rabble of today? The socialist rabble, the Chandala apostles, who undermine the instinct, the pleasure, the worker's sense of satisfaction with his small existence, who make him envious, who teach him revenge. The source of wrong is never unequal rights, but the claim of equal rights. What is bad? But I have said this already. All that is born of weakness, of envy, of revenge. The anarchist and the Christian have the same origin.